So it's fair to say that Ableton Move got a bit of a mixed reception when it was released in October 2024. Some people were critical of the capabilities and features that it offered for the price, which has also since then jumped from $450 to $500. But Ableton have been releasing regular updates for Move, and after more people actually started using it, the overall sentiment from users has shifted in a more positive direction. These are just my observations from reading the Ableton subreddit and also comments here on YouTube. I got mine right after it was released, and after having it for more than a year, I wanted to share my opinion of it. So this is essentially my full Ableton Move review. And this video isn't sponsored, and I bought it at full price with my own money. However, it's worth noting that Ableton did sponsor one of my Move videos earlier this year, but even if they hadn't sponsored it, regular viewers know that I'm generally an Ableton enjoyer. So there's always gonna be some bias. And let's be real, there is no such thing as an unbiased review. Everyone will be biased one way or the other, so if you're making a purchasing decision, do watch at least several reviews. So now that I've used it for a year, let's see what's good and what's not so good about it. Would I actually recommend it, and who is it for? And what are some good alternatives? And is it really overpriced, as many people online seem to think? So Move is Ableton's super portable, battery-powered standalone groove box intended as a sketchpad for starting musical ideas and seamlessly transitioning to developing those ideas in Ableton Live on your computer. It's not intended to be used for the full production, as it's quite limited compared to Live, and in fact it's more like Ableton's mobile app Note. It comes with 64 gigs of internal storage, which in my opinion is more than enough for a device like this. It features a built-in mic, this small hole here, for quick sampling, and a bottom-firing speaker, and it works as an audio interface actually for your computer. And it can sample from the 3.5mm input on the back, or from this USB-C port here, while the USB-A port allows you to plug in MIDI keyboards and other devices that you can send MIDI to and from. Since I mentioned sampling, you can also chop samples. There are plenty of effects to process them, but it's also a full-blown polyphonic synth. So each track can either be a drum rack or a synth or the so-called melodic sampler. And each pad of the drum rack contains a drum sampler, so you have a multi-mode filter for each pad, which is very important, plus the built-in drum sampler effects, and a send effect plus an insert effect for the whole track. So we have 2 effects for each track and 2 master effects. And while drum rack samples can only be played monophonically, the melodic sampler is polyphonic, as are the drift and wavetable synths. The pads feature polyphonic aftertouch and can be locked to a scale for easier playing of melodies and chords. And we also have a step sequencer down here. Okay, so let's now discuss the elephant in the room, so to speak, the 4-track limitation. Don't get me wrong, I wish I could have more tracks for sure. However, people bashing it for having only 4 tracks for the price and not considering the fact that by Move standards, other groove boxes like, let's say, the SP404 Mark II basically only have 1 track, unless you consider each pad to be a track of its own. But if each pad is a track, on Move you can have up to 64 tracks, and as you can load a drum rack on each of the 4 tracks, and drum rack samples can be played chromatically, so it's not just for drums. But I've never heard anyone say that the SP404 Mark II is overpriced, so I find the argument of, oh, only 4 tracks for $500 to be inconsistent with other offerings on the market. Also, this Reddit user compares it to Electron Digitact, which only has a single set of 16 monophonic samples, and they've too noticed this inconsistency when people compare Move's 4 tracks to other gear. And let's not forget that Move isn't just a sampler, it's a full-blown, high-quality polyphonic synth and a very well integrated Ableton Live controller. It has Cloud Sync for projects and Wi-Fi for transferring presets, projects and samples, and even retrospective MIDI recording called Capture, which makes sure you can always recall whatever you play, even if you forgot to press record. I just don't understand why people don't consider these valuable extra features when they complain about the price. So the form factor is really nice. The build quality, excellent. It just feels like a modern premium device, and the sounds coming out of it are really good. Even just the stock sounds, but you can also make and load your own presets and samples. The workflow is fast, intuitive, and super immediate. The screen, while really small, is really informative, and browsing sounds and tweaking parameters is easy enough. I like that you can just hold a pad and turn the volume encoder to set the level of that pad or of that track, and you don't need to switch to a mixer mode. It's right at your fingertips. Also, battery life is pretty decent, and the way project samples and presets are transferred from the computer through Wi-Fi using the Move Manager is nice and smooth. I don't miss an SD card slot, and I also like the fact that projects are saved automatically as you work on them. Where it really shines is how easy it is to transfer projects to life on the computer and develop these sketches into full songs. This is one of the biggest selling points for me, and the lack of friction when it comes to transferring the tracks to the computer makes it far more likely to fully develop and finish them. Unlike other Grooveboxes where you have to export your ideas as audio, Move projects, or sets as they are called, can be opened directly in Ableton Live, and they retain the devices and the MIDI information so they can be easily developed further. Also, sampling. It is capable as a small portable sampler. You can do a lot with it. So it's a sampler that also has built-in synths that you can play and tweak. That's exactly what I need to be able to easily add my own bass lines and melodies, as opposed to a pure sampler like the, let's say, Teenage Engineering KO2 or the Roland XP404 Mark II. And I finished and released plenty of tracks that I've started on Move. You can check out some of my videos where I show the process of making these beats. I will link them in the description of the video. So you can definitely start release-worthy tracks on Move, and this is its intended use. It is not meant to be used for creating complete tracks, and that's why I don't miss arrangement capabilities at all. I mean, why would I arrange a track on a Groovebox? This is not where a device like this shines, and it would only steer you towards very basic transitions and stiff and boring arrangements. So it's not your regular DAWless jamming box, but a sketchpad that expands Ableton's ecosystem and integrates perfectly with life. Having said that, it's perfectly fine for cool DAWless jams. It also works great as an Ableton Live controller, and I have a full video on this which I will link in the description if you want to see exactly how it works. Okay, so what are the aspects of Move that I don't like so much, or features that I wish were available? Look, I really use sidechain compression a lot to get my pads, keys and other melodic instruments to groove with the drums. It's just an integral part of my sound, so the lack of sidechain is probably the biggest omission for me. And with Ableton's constant updates, I really hope they make this part of the video outdated. So the next thing that I don't like would be the lack of warping, which is Ableton's name for time stretch. Ableton Simpler has real-time warping that syncs sampled musical phrases to the project's tempo. And this makes it so much easier to use loops, whether you're chopping them into pieces or using them as they are. But this real-time time stretch is actually quite CPU intensive, so I don't know if it can work with Move's CPU without experiencing CPU overloads. As it stands, Move works very smoothly. You can go crazy with a whole lot of sounds and effects going on at the same time, and it never lags or stutters, so I'm sure Ableton's priority would be to maintain this smooth operation. Another thing is the super basic MIDI implementation. There have been some really cool MIDI updates that enabled Move to work with external gear. However, my main issue still remains unaddressed. Move still ignores MIDI CCs that are sent to it, which in simple terms means that while you can play and record notes with an external MIDI keyboard, stuff like sustain pedal, mod wheel, pitch bend, they just don't work. The only thing that seems to work for modulation and expression is polyphonic aftertouch. So these were my main gripes, and here are some less important ones, at least to me. So while you can create your own drum racks and drift presets using Live and load them onto Move, you can't import playable melodic instruments using samples, which seems like an unnecessary limitation, and I'm eager to see it removed. So instruments made using Simpler in Live don't work on Move. Also, while it can work well with external sound modules and other groove boxes, there are no audio tracks to record the parts that you've created with these external devices. So you have to sample them and trigger the sampled phrases with MIDI, which is kind of cumbersome. And the pads are actually quite nice, but we need a softer velocity curve so we don't have to bash them as hard to get high velocity values. But this is really just a minor complaint. It doesn't really bother me too much. So at the end of the day, should you get an Ableton Move? That would actually depend a lot on your lifestyle, and to be honest, a device like Move is a bit of a luxury item. Do you travel a lot and need a portable groove box to bring with you everywhere? I mean, even if you don't travel that much, it's a great way to escape from the computer and just focus on the sounds without looking at the screen. But then, if you're gonna be using it at home or in the studio, it may leave you wanting more power and features and gassing over the significantly more expensive Push 3 standalone, which definitely resolves every single con that I mentioned earlier. But on the other hand, Push 3 isn't portable at all. It's quite big and heavy. And for portable production these days, there are so many alternatives. Your phone is always with you, and if you have an iPhone, Ableton's own app Note costs like $5, and it has most, if not all, of Move's features. And since iPhones are quite a bit more powerful than Move's CPU, it can handle up to 8 tracks, while Move caps at 4. And if a phone is too small for you, well, you can get the base model iPad for less than the price of Move, and it can too run Note and a huge number of other apps for music production. Or at the end of the day, you can just bring your laptop with Ableton Live. But Move's advantage would obviously be the physical controls. It's an instrument that just feels nice and it's a joy to use. And of course, there are other groove boxes that would provide you with this tactile experience, but there isn't one quite like it. Super portable, can sample, but it's also a synth, seamless integration with Ableton Live, not super expensive, well supported by a company that has a track record of supporting their hardware for a really long time. And even if they stop updating it, it's a standalone device. It doesn't really need any updates to work forever. And oh, on the topic of updates, yes, Ableton have been working really hard on updates for Move and their other products, but please only buy it if you are fine with what it does now. And if you're not sure if it can do this or that, just comment down below and I will do my best to answer. But Ableton, or any other company for that matter, don't owe us any new features, and there's no guarantee that features that you think are a no-brainer would be implemented. And I'm saying this because I see this sense of entitlement for free updates everywhere, which is crazy to me. I see them as just a bonus, and the only mandatory updates are the ones related to stability and bug fixes, and Move has been pretty good in this regard. And if you're looking to buy one, you can get it from Thomann. It's where I buy most of my gear, and I will have an affiliate link in the video description which helps support the channel at no extra cost to you. If you already have Move, check out my pack Driftwave, which has presets for both Live and Move, and I also have plenty of other packs for Ableton Live. Link will be down in the video description. And here's another video where I show you how you can use your phone as a sound module with Move. See you there!